Hello, it's March 3rd at 11:02 a.m. and we will begin this regular meeting of the Lake County Board of County Commissioners. Please turn off or silence all of your cell phones, and we will start with the Pledge of Allegiance and/or a moment of silence. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. This is a reminder that all regular meetings and work sessions are recorded and available on the Lake County Government YouTube channel. They are also transcribed and indexed. The recordings can be watched at a time that's best for you. Subscribe and stay informed on county decisions. Public comment is available for residents wishing to speak on an agenda item or another issue that is not on the agenda. To make a public comment, residents may request to speak by raising your hand in person, using the raise hand feature in Zoom, and sending a message in chat. The chair will call on the public in order. Comment is limited to 3 minutes, not including board questions. Action, if required, will be assigned to county staff. The chair may also ask that the public comment on specific agenda items to be held for later in the meeting. In certain instances, public comment will not be accepted, such as on public hearing items noted on the agenda.
Matt,
Yes.
I'm so sorry, are we skipping all the other stuff?
All other what stuff?
Approval of agenda, community information items.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I've done that before.
Yeah, no worries.
I'm new.
I'll do it next year too, I'm sure.
Thank you.
I'll move to approve the agenda.
I will second that.
To a vote.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right, agenda is approved. We will now move into community information items, starting with me. Just congratulations to the girls Nordic team state championships. And Coach Jeff last year, so he doesn't want any accolades, so make sure you give him some, pat him on the back.
Nice.
But they squeaked it out.
Should we do a proclamation?
Well, we did one a few years ago.
Yeah,
What?
last year.
Yeah, we might have a reign because it used to be you had to win the Alpine and the Nordic. It was a combined point system, and now they've separated them. So we could never win Alpine against Summit.
Mhm.
And now we have a pretty good chance of, winning the Nordic part of it, so.
I think we should do what we did last year.
Do a
Yeah.
proclamation?
Consistency.
I'm down for a
Jeff
proclamation.
would, I don't know, Jeff. I think we should do that.
Well, the girls can come, Jeff doesn't have to come.
You're right.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's not about him, he's the coach.
That's all I have. Commissioner Elsa?
Last week, Jackie and I testified in the Senate committee hearing for Senate Bill 40, which it's an amendment to Prop 123 that would allow for us to use Colorado AMI to expand the definition of people who could apply for our housing units. Right now, we're just using our local AMI, so Colorado gets a couple more people potentially in the door. This bill also allows for local waivers to be considered for the amount of income that somebody could spend on their home. Right now, Prop 123 says you can only spend 35% of your income on your mortgage, insurance, and utilities? Maybe not utilities. Anyway, in our community, the average renter is burdened at 41 to 47% of their income, and that's without insurance. Property taxes, that's the other thing. So this amendment would allow us to create our own waiver that allows people to be able to spend what they think is appropriate for themselves and be able to earn equity in a home as opposed to spending money on somebody else's home. It was passed out of committee. The only person who voted against it was actually our senator who represents us, Mark Baisley. If anybody wants to send him a note that sucked, I will be.
Did he say why he was not in favor?
Yeah, so one of the other parts of this bill is that I'll use 10.2 as our example. 10.2, they're saying that we can rent those units once we've marketed them for 6 months past certificate of occupancy. I'm gonna propose that we change our position to amend so that we can try to get that amended to once certificate of occupancy is granted, because we've been marketing those units for over a year. So the sooner we can get somebody in and start renting it, the better, because we carry the cost on those units. And Jackie and I did the math, it's about $500 per month per unit that comes out of the county's general fund. So the sooner we can get people into those homes that we haven't sold yet, the less burden it'll be on our general fund. Mark Baisley said that people who rent don't take good care of their homes. And he doesn't wanna see these units turned into rentals because that will just depreciate the value of the homes. And he doesn't agree with that. So, I have some strong opinions about what that is actually saying. Tomorrow, I'm gonna go and testify, I'm going down to Denver for a CCAT meeting. But before that, I'm gonna testify for House Bill. Can I remember? 002, which is really cool. We haven't taken a position, so I'm representing CC4CA. But this program, this creates a program where utility providers like Excel would have to provide like basic needs electricity at a low cost for income qualifying homes. So instead of those folks having to pay market rate, they'd be able to afford a smaller cost for like a set amount of energy at that rate. In this community, that could be really, really valuable because our energy bills are so high. And it's a huge part of people's costs that they spend on their housing. And Lake County is the #1 cost burdened county in the state when it comes to housing. Period. That's a statewide survey that was done, and Lake County is the most burdened for housing costs. So this would help us along with all other cost burdened counties. Anyway, those are my updates.
Alright. Well, hold on to your hats, Lake County, we've got a big weekend coming up. We will see an influx of people coming in this weekend. I'm sure 90% of the people are aware. For anyone who's not, we have ski joring, and that is gonna bring a massive amount of people into town, so plan accordingly, plan ahead. You're not gonna be driving across Main Street and Harrison Avenue for, to be technical. And get on out and enjoy the festivities. It's always a wild time. I wanted to jump. Cool.
That concludes our community information items. We will now, I've reminded you that the meeting recordings are available, and we'll now move to public comment. You can raise your hand in person, you can raise your hand feature in Zoom, and you can send a message in chat. Is there anyone in the room that would like to comment? If you don't mind just stating your name. Seeing no one, anybody online have a public comment today? Seeing none. We will move on to item number 1, discussion and consideration of a housing planning grant award from the Department of Local Affairs, led by Jackie Willihan, Housing Program Manager.
Dan's gonna take that one for Jackie.
Okay.
Yeah, Jackie's on, but she's on PTO right now, so I just didn't wanna jump in if I didn't expect her to be here. So exciting news, that DOLA has awarded Lake County, the housing planning grant to create the housing action plan and update our housing needs assessment. While it's not a requirement of the grant, DOLA would like to have a decision on the record by the board to approve the grant. This is has a $10,000 match to it. We were awarded $30,000. And that match is being split between the regional housing authority and the county, so $5,000 for each would be to make up that match. Also, probably important to note is that we'll be asking for a request to amend the professional service agreement with Root Policy. Because we went through a vetted process, through DOLA's process to retain and choose Root Policy to do our housing needs assessment, we are able to work with them again without having to go through the RFP process again. So we are asking to amend the scope of work to update our current housing needs assessment and then create our housing action plan. And because the housing needs assessment was completed before the legislation was really perfected on what the statutory requirements were for what the required elements of the assessment were, they will update that as part of this scope of work. And so I do think that Jackie provided the proposal for the housing needs assessment update and then the housing action plan. And I would just add too that we have carefully worked with Root Policy through the One Community Project too, and so they are gonna dovetail on all of the great work that's been done on the One Community Project around housing and all the data and information that's been gathered to really help that kind of be really beneficial to the scope of work that Root Policy is going to do. So also thoughtful timing about when that work will begin and trying to keep that supportive of the comprehensive plan adoption. So that has just been coordinated with some effort to make sure that that all kind of works seamlessly together. So happy to answer any questions and then hoping for a motion to approve the award of the grant or to accept the award.
Thank you, Ann.
Sure.
Okay. Will you read this? My text is cut off right at the edge here and I can't get the full sentence to pull up.
Yeah, sure.
Apologies.
I will move to approve the hold up. I will move to approve the housing planning grant, HPLN award from the Department of Local Affairs, DOLA.
I will second that.
To a vote?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Sorry. Roll out order.
Thanks, Ann.
Thank you.
Yeah, appreciate you
Ann.
keeping the work going.
Yay.
Okay, we will move on here to item number 2, discussion and consideration regarding Lake County taking on the responsibility of being the fiscal sponsor for Full Circle to apply for a fiscal year 27 community project funding through the office of Congressman Brittany Pedersen, led by Candace Bryant, our county manager.
So, this tranche of community project funding, Public Health Kelsey had been working with Full Circle for a different grant application that they ended up not being awarded. And so for community project funding, entities need a fiscal sponsor. So they would need the county to be the fiscal sponsor for this grant funding. And Kelsey talked with me last week about wanting to put in an application, shared the application with me. It's for between $450,000, $500,000 per year for up to 3 years. And I'm actually gonna let Kelsey, who was gonna be in a meeting and was gonna present it, but then I took it over because she was in the meeting but is now with us, actually share with you guys just a little bit about the work that it would fund. I will say, I just wanna make sure we have a great plan in place to manage the funding before we take on the responsibility of doing so, and make sure that we loop, finance in if we decide to do it, so that we have a really good plan and we have a backup for anybody who is a player in the managing of the funds. It's the only thing I would request if we decide to move forward. Kelsey will have the nuts and bolts of the grant request and what it would fund, so I'll let her do that piece.
Yeah, and I also have Jennifer here from Full Circle and she can chime in and maybe help answer any questions. But ultimately, the project that we worked pretty hard, also in coordination with Laura and Human Services, to apply for a different grant. It's kind of like a prevention ecosystem in Lake County for substance use prevention, mainly targeting youth, but also families. And that encompasses the Prevention Coalition that we actually talked a little bit about yesterday as like an offset of the Harm Reduction Coalition. It would provide funding and stipends for participation in that, which is something that is currently unfunded and is all volunteer based, so that would be helpful for getting everyone in the community engaged in that. And then a lot of this funding goes towards the Family Resource Center and prevention youth programming that Full Circle does. And Jennifer can talk more about that if you have questions. But then it ultimately provides like the system for us all to work together and track the data across all of our different prevention initiatives and look to see where the gaps are and how we're referring services. They did recently release the guidance for fiscal year 25, and it looks like for 25-27, we can only apply for 1 year of funding. Previously, these applications were open for like multi-year projects. So this would only be 1 year of the project. It would kind of get it off the ground, support current prevention things that are already in the works at Full Circle, and then allow the group to have another year to find some more sustainable funding opportunities. As we all know, the funding landscape is pretty sparse and tricky right now. So I don't think we would necessarily be a shoo-in for this. It would just be like putting in the application and seeing what happened. But then if we were awarded it, Lake County and Public Health would be the managers of that funding, and then Full Circle would be like a sub-awardee that we would need to contract with for these services. That's a pretty high level overview. Anything else you wanna add?
Yeah, I would say there's definitely other partners involved too, if we keep the same formatting that we had from our previous ecosystem visioning. It included a project at Advocates of Lake County too, as for youth, the LPC, elevated, was that what that was called?
Yeah.
At the time. So a licensed practitioner, counselor, in the school district through Elevated Health. So it's a very broad system that kind of comes at all the different spaces of raising protective factors and reducing risk factors, particularly for our youth, but then connected with the families and the system as a whole.
How would we manage the reporting? Like that's our that's our biggest weakness, and this is a large amount of money, so Candace, you were talking about having like a backup person here.
Yeah.
How do you see that system, how do you see us strengthening our ability to actually be able to be the kind of fiscal sponsor to the community?
I will say that if we're kind of the lead county entity on this project, we have very good reporting
Yeah.
systems within our department. But I also acknowledge that for some of these projects, it's like attached to the email address of an individual and then
Yeah.
things can kind of fall through the cracks there. So I think we would just come up with a plan of succession if like, let's say, I'm not planning on going anywhere, but let's say I'm attached to everything and I do go somewhere, I would make sure that we have a succession plan for like the managing of this reporting. And then we have a really good working relationship with Full Circle. And I think in the contracting that we do, we would call out responsibilities and reporting once we learned what the reporting for this looked like if we were awarded for this project.
That's all would really want to have, because when we've
Yeah.
had turnover, that's where we've really gotten into some trouble, is the one person with an email leaves, no
Yeah.
one knows until we find out, we've missed a reporting deadline, and then it hurts our ability to be a sponsor in the future, so
Yeah,
just trying to not redo things that we've, had happen in the past, and make sure we have a really good solid plan, and then Kelsey also working with finance, because it will be part of the SEPA report that we do every year.
And I realize too that that's all in the workings of the county, but Full Circle also has a very robust system in our reporting that we do, and that's something that I'm in charge of. And I have experience in federal reporting as well from programs we've worked with at Full Circle and previous roles I've held. So working in partnership, I think, elevates that system more so than it just being held in one space.
yeah, awesome. Is there a way we can have like a backup email connected to these grants? Or is it really just a single point of accountability?
I'm not sure, this application is literally just a Google form. You
Yeah.
cannot even upload any documents to the Google
Yeah,
form,
It's
so
pretty basic.
it leaves a lot of questions as to like how this would
Yeah.
work in real time.
It's been so.
Yeah, and it's due
Junction.
on Friday.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know.
Yeah, when I spoke with the congresswoman's staff, that's what they did warn us, that once everything gets shared, it moves very quickly.
Yeah,
Oftentimes what I've seen, and what we do at Full Circle, of course, we all individually have our own professional emails, but then we do have a group email that we use for all of our grant applications and all those things. So then it comes to all three of us, myself, Delia, and Lisa.
yeah.
So we have that backup. My understanding is we'll put this in, this information goes to the congresswoman and her staff. She gets to decide then on the 20 projects that she'll choose and then come back to us.
Mhm.
And then there'll be some more information we'll need to share.
Mhm.
And at that point, we'll be able to see how we can put in those layers of accountability to make sure that those bases are covered.
And usually when we're awarded congressional funding, we get the opportunity to have a finance lead on there. So we try to at least have two people when they give us the opportunity
Awesome.
to add a second one, so it's not just like in one inbox and no one ever get to it.
Awesome.
Do we have somebody in finance that takes care of this, or what's the workload involved with something like this? Is one of my questions. Do we have the capacity for that workload in the finance
I
department?
tried to talk with Will about this on Friday because we knew that the turnaround was gonna be next Friday. I think as long as we get the account codes set up correctly with Kelsey, that'll be the big thing. It's not really our external reporting from our partners, it's more that they're auditing our internal accounting.
Yeah.
And whether we're recording things correctly to the grants that they're a part of, which doesn't sound that hard, but when you have lots of grants, which I think we've got over 100 grants, and in particular federal ones, you really have to have every dollar accounted for correctly in the correct bucket and reported correctly. When you're talking about hundreds of things all together, it does get to be large. I think we will be able to handle it, but really just wanna have that backup plan in place, cause that's really been the thing that has gotten us in trouble is turnover. Like imagine your finance team turns over. they're gone, Kelsey can't go do their job in the interim until we get those people back in, well, then we've missed that opportunity. So I think we just wanna make sure that she's working with them to get something set up and documented well, so we can refine it should we have people turn over.
Do we ever build in any of that shared management cost into the grant? Like when we take on work as a fiscal sponsor,
would
we ever
plan
say
to
like,
do
hey,
that.
$5,000 our way or something?
Yeah.
Okay,
And there's also generally, like, it's hard because they don't have a detailed budget, of what the percentage of the indirect is, or all these other things that like you normally get to see
Yeah.
and put together for a grant application.
Yeah, they're like used 2 years ago packet.
And then they're like, wait, just kidding, here's the guidance and it's not the same.
Yeah, we've been working in very gray areas.
Yeah, so, there's a lot of unknowns in this, which is also why it's like important to discuss and see like if it's something that as a county we're willing to take on these unknowns, cause we don't entirely know what it's gonna look like, but yeah, I think public health, like in the way we wrote this grant, was getting funding to support the running of this coalition and the work that we're putting into it, which also helps public health as we are in a rough funding landscape, so this would help supplement funding that we've lost. And additionally, like the indirect or the administrative costs, we would write into this as well to benefit Lake County ideally, but I can't tell you exactly what that would look like because we aren't getting to submit a full budget.
Yeah, it seems like that'll be like that next step again, once she chooses her projects, they're trying to keep things high level and then for those 20 projects they choose, they get the nitty gritty details.
Okay.
But
A little bit of a can of worms here, I feel like. Got some, it's, the process feels a little bit different than what we kind of had established, I think, as our grants process. With involving leadership and the full team, to make sure these are managed correctly, because if I'm understanding some of these grants correctly, it's almost like we're a co-signer and we've got to make sure that everyone's doing everything correctly or else we're on the hook. And that worries me because this is I see some language that says 3 years and 1.4 to 1.6 million over the course of 3 years, and I don't know if that's accurate, and
Well,
you said
we
1 year.
prepared all of this before the fiscal year 27 guidance
Okay.
was released,
Yeah.
because
That's what we have.
there's only a 2-week window of this being open.
Okay,
And then they released the guidance a week
I
into it.
saw those deadlines coming out of that
Yeah.
office, and it was like, how is anyone supposed to get their
I
ducks
don't
in a
really
row and
know.
make this happen under such?
Did it
I
get,
don't think they know.
did it get looked at by Eagle? Like how has this
No.
been different?
It didn't, I think the timeline
Yeah,
didn't help us with that process, but I do think we wanna make sure we're following that process in the future. I think it's fine if we wanna fiscally sponsor this, I don't think there'll be an issue. I think in the future, we wanna make sure we are kind of going through the process, when we're given the luxury of actual time. So I think we just wanna make sure that in the future that we really are trying to go through that process. So the documentation actually is already with finance, and finance, if there were a match, there's not here, would know that. And I
Okay.
think that's really what we want to be doing in the future.
Well, the biggest concern that I had was something Matt already touched on, and that was before I got any additional info on this, what kind of workload does this add to an already very stretched thin finance department? And when we try to pile up too much stuff on their plate, mistakes get made and mistakes can be very expensive. And I really wanna secure as much grant funding as we can for every department, cause I know every dollar helps and it's really important. I just wanna make sure that we're doing it right and everything is hunky-dory. For anyone online or in the room, Eagle isn't referring to our neighbors, a county member. It is the county's leadership team. They take the higher view of everything, sort of like Eagle. And
I didn't come up with that name.
we inherited the name. But that's like the higher level view to make sure all the departments are communicating and coordinating and that there aren't miscues that lead to errors. So that's just what I wanted to make sure is all the pieces of the machine are gonna be moving together in a way that there won't be any missteps like have happened in the past.
I also think it's helpful to consider that once we put this application in, we should have the opportunity, once they come back and say your project has been chosen, to say, thank you, but no thank you.
Yeah.
Right?
There's like a
Once,
step 2.
yeah,
Yeah.
there will be those other pieces of it.
Yeah.
The Congress people, the senators, they have to have the projects in right and enough time to be able to read them before they have to then send them to DC. So that's why
It's
timing
like this
is
mad dash to get these
ridiculous.
things in their hands, but in like a week.
And their team also provides pretty full scope TNTA as we go through the process as well.
Okay.
So would it come back to us then to approve the acceptance of the grant?
Yes.
So at that time, we could analyze how much work it is versus how much, analyze if we have the capacity to do it.
Well, and we'll have the award language at that point, which that's, without a lot of technical guidance, really none. We don't know until they award it what that reporting requirement could be, and we could come back and say, hey, we just actually can't handle this.
Yeah.
We unfortunately have taken on money in the past that we didn't have a plan for, and then had to return it, and that looks horrible. So we just wanna make sure we really have a plan, cause if once you guys leave, somebody could be managing that, who even knows what happens, life happens. So I think we just wanna be really conscientious, because we are gonna get other requests from people who want us to, sponsor them, that we just really have a good plan. So I don't foresee any problem taking this on, I just wanna make sure we understand what we're saying yes to. Is that you're saying yes to managing it, no matter who is here in this room right now that could be or not be that person. So you're putting a lot of trust in your staff, and you know that you're taking on that responsibility for managing it.
Also wanna say that I wasn't trying to circumnavigate the EGO process, there just simply was not
Yeah.
time to go to EGO. I just wanted to say that.
She was not. Kelsey is the biggest rule follower ever on the planet, she's great.
Thank you, Kelsey.
We were just up against a
makes me
tight
really
deadline, so I had to chuck it on here today, cause I was like, it's
Yeah.
due Friday.
Well, Congress had like similar timelines
Yeah,
that were appropriate for going over things. Well, awesome.
And I also
Let's-
understand no matter where we land, and just, coming to talk about it and explore it
Yeah.
and see where we can go, I think is worth it regardless.
So we still have chances to gauge whether or not we have the capacity for this moving forward. Right now, we're just like,
awarded,
if
applying.
we're awarded and we accept the award, right now, we're just deciding if the county is okay taking on the responsibility of being the fiscal sponsor.
It's like a letter of interest
Okay,
before a real application.
well, sometimes you gotta dip your toes in the pool before you jump in, I guess.
I mean, with the loss of the EPIC grant to Full Circle, I really hope we can do this for Full Circle in the community and public health.
yeah, it would really buy the time that we need to continue scoping other possibilities.
Yeah.
As they come out, because like Kelsey said, the funding landscape is bleak.
Yeah, more and more people buying for smaller and smaller pots. Yeah,
And we feel really strongly about the public health work that Full Circle is doing, and if they weren't out there doing this work, it would be a huge detriment to our community, and it would create a gap that my department can't fill what
Yeah.
Full Circle does if they were have to reduce services. So I think that's also why I and my team feel really strongly about supporting the Family Resource Center and their youth prevention programming.
awesome.
Okay, I'm going to make a motion to in support of the county taking on the responsibility of being the fiscal sponsor for Full Circle to apply for the fiscal year 27 community project funding through the office of Congresswoman Brittany Pedersen.
Seconded.
To a vote.
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good luck, y'all.
You'll have a busy couple days.
Yeah, you've got like four days.
It's
3.5 days. Go
That
ahead.
is what it was.
Have a great day. Thanks for
You too.
listening.
Yeah, too.
Am I gonna read both 3 and 4? We're gonna do them simultaneously, or we're gonna come out?
Yeah,
Go in, then come out,
I
go
think
in.
we just go ahead for both of them, yeah.
Okay.
And we can make a motion for incorporating both of them.
Alright, I'm gonna make a motion, at this time to honor agenda item number 3 by going into executive session pursuant to CRS 24-6-402, section 4B, for the purpose of receiving legal advice from the county attorney regarding potential legal issues and options arising from an identified error in the mill levy impacting the Leadville sanitation district.
Seconded.
To a vote?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. The next one too. We're gonna do both at the same time.
Yeah, I thought we
Okay.
were ready to vote.
If it is procedurally allowable, we will also enter into executive session for pursuant to CRS 24-6-402, section 4B, and CRS 24-6-402, section 4E, for the purpose of receiving legal advice from the county attorney and determining positions relative to matters that may be subject to negotiations concerning the proposed intergovernmental agreement for fire protection services, or also known as Fire IGA.
Seconded.
To a vote?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. At this time, we will go into executive session. And thanks everyone for coming.
Who's all gonna be?
Oh,
President.
Thank you.
Yeah, he's grabbing this stuff.
Thank you guys.
Thank you, Sandra.
You can say it now.
See you, Cameron. Have a good day, Pete.
Thank you, Pete.
He's the new, gentleman on the news.
Can you
He's our new
close
friend.
people off of the internet?
Yeah, did we, I thought someone more.
Don't we have to state who will be present
Okay, should I wait a second?
before we stop the recording?
I think it's.
I'm just saying you can kick folks off.
People online, I have to kick you out for the executive session. I'm not being rude, but I am giving you a heads up.
So we don't need to state on record who will be present in executive sessions, or?
I mean, procedurally, I need to get you guys a script probably, you
Okay.
know, which part is.
Oh, okay. Alright. How's it going, Mark?
Good, how are you?
Alright.
You print this any smaller?
No, I did that just for you.
Jesus.
Sorry, that everybody's present, I'm good.
You're good.
Okay, thanks.
So do I
Thanks, Andy.
recording it or?
Wow, that's a good idea. Your phone is like a magnifying glass.
Okay, we are now in executive session pursuant to CRS 24-6-402, subsection 4B, for the purpose of receiving legal advice from the county attorney regarding 2 issues. One, the error in the mill levy for Leadville sanitation, and 2, the fire IGA. I hereby certify that all or a portion of the matters to be discussed this executive session are protected by the attorney-client privilege, therefore pursuant to CRS 24-6402, subsection 2D5, subsection 2B, that electronic recording of this executive session may now be stopped. Okay, stop it now. Yeah.
We will now come, oh, sorry, Andy.
Man,
Alright, now we're
Sunday,
I'll just give her.
demerit.
We're now out of executive session. We were in executive session pursuant to CRS 24-6-402, section 4B, for the purpose of receiving legal advice from our county attorney regarding potential legal issues and options arising from an identified error in the mill levy impacting Leadville sanitation. For that executive session, we had Patrick Smith and Mark Wadsworth. No decisions were made. The second part of our executive session was regarding the IGA, or the Fire Intergovernmental Agreement with the city. Just the county commissioners, our county attorney, and our county manager and our assistant county manager were present at that meeting, and no official decisions were made in that meeting. We'll now move on to the consent agenda.
I would like to make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Seconded.
To a vote?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Just a reminder that all packet materials for agenda items are available upon request. And this concludes our regular meeting, March 3rd at 1:17 p.m.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
Commissioners. Thank you, staff.
I'm punching in there.